All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Kendall Kopchick, and I am one of the elder care social workers here at the Orange County Department on Aging. And today I'm going to talk with you all about caregiving during the holidays. So let's go ahead and get started. So this is the most wonderful time of year, as we all like to say and sing, but it's also the busiest time of year, something we often forget, and no one really likes to talk about the stressful parts of the holidays. So I'm first here to acknowledge that you are not being a Grouch or a Scrooge. It really is a stressful time. So let's talk about that and see what we can do to make this a little less stressful and kind of get back to the enjoyable times that the holidays are supposed to bring us. So let's think about what the holidays usually look like. There's usually travel involved. Sometimes we'll all go visit family or friends. Other times people will come and visit us or some combination of both. There's always decorations, trees and menorahs and candles and wreaths and lights and all different types of things. We change the appearance of our homes and of the stores we're used to going to. There's usually some decadent foods. That's one of my favorite parts. Special drinks as well, and all other types of traditions, whether that's singing or baking or other types of family gatherings and things we do to enjoy each other. Now, this can be really overwhelming. So let's think about some ways that we can adjust some of these things that we always do in order to make it a little more enjoyable for all of us and a little less stressful. It would not be a presentation in 2020 if we were not talking about COVID. So I'm going to get these couple of COVID slides out of the way in the beginning. Um, and again, I am a social worker. I'm not an infectious disease or public health expert. So just disclaimer there to talk to your local health department, listen to the experts on this, but I'll give you some general tips and tricks here. If you choose to travel, think about your method of travel and where you're going. If you're going somewhere, check their stats and their regulations, whether you have to quarantine if it's out of state. Some states require you to do that. So just think about that. Ensure that your guests and travel companions have taken the appropriate precautions, whatever that means, in your local area, or for your personal safety and your decisions. If you are more comfortable with people getting tested or quarantining or a combination of both, make sure that those people are taking those precautions for your safety. Another important thing to think about is building up mask tolerance now, particularly if you're caring for someone who has dementia. That mask can be very confusing and very uncomfortable. And I don't know why I'm wearing this. Why am I wearing this? It doesn't feel good. I'm going to take it off. So try and build up some tolerance, whether that's a couple hours a day or an hour a day, start slow so that when you do go somewhere, that person's kind of more used to that. And it's not a complete shock to have to put on that mask. Limit guests in your home if you do choose to have guests in your home, just to try and be as safe as you can about it. One thing I want to definitely touch on is your shopping style. I think we can probably all, regardless of our safety levels with COVID, agree that that big crowd in the shopping mall is probably not the best idea. And even not in COVID times, bringing an older adult that you're caring for into Black Friday sales or a big crowded mall can be like a lot of risk. Whether it's someone with dementia, you can lose them in the crowd and it can be very overwhelming for them. Or if you have some type of a mobility aid, a walker, a cane, it's just a lot. So maybe best to try and skip that this year and anytime you're bringing that loved one with you. If you choose to go with a virtual or a socially distant holiday celebration, try and remember to set time limits and boundaries. I think for any of us, sitting in front of a screen for a long 3-hour bar party can be a lot. So choose how much you're going to engage with that kind of an interaction and set that boundary and let your family and friends know that so that you're not catching them off guard and saying, okay, now I'm done with this. Let them know up front so it's all out in the open. Um, Thinking about the person you're caring for, usually we know, okay, mom is really good in the morning, but after 2 o'clock, she's just done, she's tired. It's not a good time for her. So if it's a good time in the morning, schedule those gatherings in the morning. If afternoon is better, schedule them in the afternoon. Also thinking about the number of people you have at those gatherings. Having 20 people on a screen is going to be very overwhelming for most of us. So maybe one or two people and just quick interactions makes it a little less overwhelming, a little easier to process. Or think of some other ways that you can connect with people. You may remember back in the spring, I feel like I saw a lot of those birthday parades where people would be driving by in their cars with balloons and streamers. We could do those at the holidays. If your family lives close enough and your friends live close enough that you can do that, drive by their house, roll down the window, wave. You can stand out on the porch and wave back at them, play some holiday music as you're driving by. It's not quite the same, but it's a fun way to kind of break up some of the monotony that we're all living through right now. Um, Safe food exchanges. So I think that food and baking is one of the great ways to spread some holiday cheer. So that's something we can always do. There's been little evidence of COVID being transmitted through food. So as long as that's something you and the person you're exchanging food with is comfortable with, baking cookies for each other, doing a quick drop off, porch visit. Even if you're not exchanging food, visits on the porch, they can be safe, even if you're through like a glass screen door or through a window, just some way to have a little bit of that interpersonal interaction. But at the end of the day, we're all handling this in different ways, and everyone has different levels of safety and what feels okay to them. So make sure we're respecting each other's choices, and the majority of the time we're all doing the best we can. There are some people who may not care at all, but for the most part, we're all doing the best we can. So let's just give each other some grace this time of year. So those are my COVID precautions to share. So let's go into kind of some more general topics here. Again, this will be very different this year, but in general, if you're traveling for the holidays, first of all, think, do you really want or need to travel? Traveling with someone you're caring for, an older adult, someone with dementia, can be very hectic. It can be a lot. So if you do want to travel, think about scaling it back. Maybe instead of flying to California to see your niece or your nephew, you just take a drive a couple hours up the road to see your sister. So making it a little more comfortable, not as long of an ordeal. And when you're on that trip, think about making it as comfortable as possible, whether that be seat cushions or blankets, playing some comforting music. And when you get where you're going, make sure you allow time for rest. For all of us, travel is exhausting, so try not to overwhelm that person you're caring for. As soon as you walk in the door and they're bombarded with people and, okay, now we have to go to this activity and that activity, and then we have a big dinner together, and that's a lot. Maybe allowing some buffer time on either end of your trip. Checking your Medicare coverage is always good, especially if you're going to be gone for a long period of time where you may need to be seeing some doctors here and there. Medicare will cover emergency room visits no matter where you are, so that's not something to worry about, but just for those longer trips, if you think you may need to see a doctor. Also making sure you have enough of any prescription, making sure you have enough of that to get you through the trip. Finally, ensuring you have the durable medical equipment that you need. I know a lot of times when you've got all these different pieces of equipment and these tools all over the place, you just get used to it. It's just there until you go somewhere else and you realize, oh yeah, I forgot that we needed that. I forgot that's just not standard everywhere. So thinking about all that, how you're going to get it there, it can take up a lot of space, which again makes the travel piece a little hard, which is a good indicator that you should scale back, and maybe driving is easier than flying with all that different equipment. Visitors. So a couple different ways we can look at this. So if you are to have visitors, talking to your guests about expectations, particularly children. If children haven't seen, their grandparent, great uncle, or anyone like that in a long time, and maybe there's been some changes, maybe he uses a walker now, and maybe he has oxygen now just to help him breathe. Explaining that to children, because that equipment can be scary. If there have been changes in memory and cognition, making sure you tell people about that ahead of time, because it can be kind of shocking when you see someone has declined so much because you haven't seen them in so long, versus you might be used to it because you see them every day. Letting your loved one know that you are going to have visitors. Don't just have people show up. Whether you think they're going to remember it or not, just as a courtesy, it's a nice thing to do just in case. And then setting boundaries. Maybe you won't have as many visitors this year. Maybe it's just a couple people, so it's a little less overwhelming for that person you're caring for. And time boundaries as well. So maybe you're going to have guests, but hey, mom takes her nap at 3 o'clock every day, so let's just make sure we're quiet during that time and we don't, overwhelm her right before her nap or try and get her up right after. Make sure you're kind of keeping that routine. If you have an older adult who's coming to visit you, similar to with the travel, take it slow. Don't bombard them as soon as they get there. Just let them kind of get comfortable and ease themselves into the situation. Ask in advance if there's anything they might need. Orange County Department on Aging has a durable medical equipment loan program. So if your father needs a wheelchair when he gets here and doesn't want to bring it in the car with them, we could probably get that for you. So feel free to give us a call and think about what you may need in advance. Don't pressure someone to participate if they are not wanting to participate. But at the same time, we don't want to exclude people either. So even if you think maybe someone with dementia is a little bit overwhelmed and maybe you don't want to overwhelm them anymore, still give them an opportunity. Say, hey, would you like to come in here and play this game with us or watch this movie? And maybe it's easier to engage them one-on-one. It's a lot easier to follow a conversation if your brain's moving a little more slowly. It's easier to follow a conversation one-on-one than it is to be bouncing around all these different people in a circle. Just things to take into consideration, and talk with the person and the family member who spent the most time with that person. What do they need? What's the easiest way to engage them? Just spend a little bit of time before the big event thinking about these things. Decorations is another one of our most favorite things during the holidays. You may notice my theme for today is going to be tone it down, because it can be a lot. You go up to the attic, you got to pull down all the boxes, and then no one can ever remember what's in what box. So you got to open them all, go through them, and you got to get up on the ladder, put all the lights up, put all these things on the walls, and it's just a lot for you to do, in addition to caring for your person that you're always caring for. So that's one reason to tone it down if you want to. The other reason is if you're dealing with cognitive changes and then all of a sudden you've got all these flashing lights all over the place, there's fire everywhere and there's candles and everything's changed. So think about these things that are going to cause changes in your person's environment. Maybe you always sit in that one chair. Then the one morning you wake up and all of a sudden there's a tree where your chair used to be. There's not supposed to be a tree where my chair used to be. Where am I supposed to sit now? There's not supposed to be a tree inside. What's going on? It's really confusing when you're dealing with cognitive changes. So just think about those things. What's going to be very jarring and confusing to someone who isn't used to all those changes. Safety considerations and fire. I'm a big fan of candles. I love candles, especially, Christmas scented candles. I love them. But fire is not always the safest thing in the world. It can be confusing. We never have candles. Why do we have candles now? Why is there fire? That's not safe. Lights, string lights. We love to have lights all over the place. Lights come with cords that need to be plugged into the wall. Cords end up being dragged all over the floor. Huge tripping hazards. We don't want to do that. I see people try and tape them down. You can still trip over it. So just trying to get those as close to the wall if you have to have them. Just being more aware of those environmental factors. And then in terms of trying to scale things down, think about what decorations have sentimental value, memories that are really important to you and your family versus what are you doing? What are you putting up just so that you look Christmassy? Is there a competition on your street as to who has the most lights and the most decorations? Is that really something that's important to you? I know with my family, Christmas ornaments are our big thing. Every year, every single year, no matter what, we take out the box of ornaments. My mom picks one up and says, oh, this is from so-and-so. They gave it to us on such and such a date and this year, and you were this old. And then we hang it up on the tree. So as long as the tree is up with the ornaments and we had that experience, in my mind, it's Christmas. Whether there's lights everywhere, all the other decorations are really just a formality and a show. So thinking about what's important, maybe those older decorations that may be a little worn, maybe they'll bring back some memories for your person, and that's something that's going to be worth dragging them out of the attic. So just thinking about that when you're prioritizing, what you're putting up. Food and drink. Another one of our favorite activities in the holidays is we eat a lot. Um, Again, not surprising. If it's going to be too much for you this year, go ahead and tone it down. Maybe you don't need to have 5 different pies. You're probably going to have less people this year anyway, but maybe you don't need to have 5 different pies, 2 types of potatoes, sweet potatoes, all these different other things. Pick your couple favorite things and then say, okay, that's our meal. I'm happy with that. If that's still too much, don't be afraid to ask for help. Maybe someone who's coming to visit who says, oh, well, let me know if I can ever do anything. Now's your time to take them up on it. Say, oh, yeah, that'd be great. Could you bring dessert? Um, Also, having your person that you're caring for help if you want them to, or if they're interested in helping. Maybe mom always did the cooking, but since she's gotten older and since she's gotten the diagnosis of dementia, it's just been easier for her not to. Well, she still likes cooking, maybe she still wants to participate. Finding safe ways for her to participate and for her to enjoy that family time. Cooking can be a huge bonding experience for people, whether that be giving her something safe to do like washing vegetables or peeling potatoes. These are the best things that we can use. This is a fun trick that one of our occupational therapists taught me is these lettuce knives. They're plastic, so they don't cut you. But they have some power to cut things like lettuce and some softer vegetables. So that's an option to make sure you've given someone a job and they're feeling important, and you get a little bit of help as well, but they're safe. They're not going to cut their hand off. Considering dietary restrictions is another important thing to think about. If someone's on a low sodium diet or, because of certain medications, they can't eat these things, making sure that you're aware of that. And having healthy alternatives available. So for all of us, the food we eat in the holidays really slows us down sometimes. It's not always the best thing for us to have, but we love it. So making sure that person that you're caring for is not overindulging to the point where they become ill. Having some healthy alternatives available is a good way to make sure everyone stays feeling their best. I find the easiest way is to have fruits and vegetables chopped up in the fridge, ready to eat. So you don't need to, I gotta take it out and I gotta wash it, I gotta peel it, I gotta cut it. I'll just grab a cookie instead. If it's already done and it's ready, you're much more likely to eat it. It makes it a lot easier for you. Alcohol is a form of tradition for some people. Some people, every year we had eggnog, every year we had mulled wine. It's a memory for a lot of people, but as people age, you metabolize alcohol a lot more slowly and it has a greater effect. Medications can affect the way you metabolize alcohol as well, and people with dementia can also have some negative effects. So having some alternatives available for that person so they don't feel totally left out. Thankfully, with most of the holiday beverages, it's pretty easy. They sell eggnog without alcohol. And I also find if you put anything in this pretty glass here, maybe with a sugar rim or a little garnish, looks just like what everyone else is drinking, you don't feel left out. In general, for any other traditions you may have, maybe you always go out and look at Christmas lights. Maybe you always, make these certain crafts and string the popcorn and all those types of things. Think about it, take some time before the holiday comes up and think, are those traditions really still feasible? Is that something that I'm going to be able to facilitate without getting myself so overwhelmed because I'm already caring for this person and I got to make sure the kids get their schoolwork done and I got to go to work. It's a lot. So if those traditions aren't still feasible, see if we can scale them down. And to do that, you have to focus on the root of what that tradition is. So is the root of that tradition that you just got to spend time together? It wasn't really important that we were baking the cookies. It was that I was sitting there with my grandma, rolling out the dough, we were talking. Is it enjoying the meal? Is it that we all really love this meal and, we like to just sit around and spend that time together? Or celebrating a memory? Maybe no one really even likes that pie anymore, but that's what grandma always used to make. So we make it every single year. We can do all those things without having to go through these elaborate traditions that take up a lot of time and a lot of energy and cause a lot of stress. So think about ways that you can just spend time together, enjoy a meal, or celebrate so-and-so's memory without driving yourself crazy trying to make sure we do this because that's the way we've always done it. We've always done these traditions, so we have to do them every year. But why do you have to do them? Just some things to think about and conversations to have with your family before things really get rolling. And lastly, this is always my most important piece here. Take care of yourself. It's my favorite thing to say when I'm talking to caregivers. Always take care of yourself. You're no good to care for your loved one if you are not taking care of yourself, if you're not in good shape. A couple important notes about this, particularly related to the holidays, is this is your holiday season too. You know, yes, you're caring for someone, you have a family you're taking care of, and you want to make it special for them. It should be special for you too. If there's something that you really enjoy doing, but maybe you can't bring the person you're caring for with you, see if there's someone who can, sit with them for a few hours while you go out and do that thing that means a lot to you. If you really love to look at Christmas lights, maybe there's a street in your town where they always do these big, pretty lights and you love to drive through it, but you can't bring your loved one out at night to do that. It's just too much. See if someone can sit with them for a few hours so you still get that experience and that time to recharge yourself. On a more physical, practical note here, keeping caffeine and alcohol to a minimum. I know that's hard because food and drink is how we celebrate. Every time you drive by a Starbucks and you think, oh, I can only get the peppermint mocha this month, so I should get it. I'm not gonna have many opportunities. Just try and keep things to a minimum. Don't have any more than you normally do, or maybe just a little bit more. Similar with your exercise routine and healthy foods, try and keep your diet as healthy as you can. I'm not saying skip everything altogether, but try and squeeze in some healthy foods as well. Having fruits and vegetables cut up, easy to access, make that a little bit easier for you to choose. If you go for a run every single morning, try and keep that routine. I know that's hard. Maybe skip it on Thanksgiving Day or Christmas Day, but try and keep it for the most of the holidays. Don't skip on sleep. I know it's hard when you think, oh, I could get so much more done if I just wait till everyone goes to sleep, or you stay up watching holiday movies or talking with your family, but it's important to recharge yourself as well. And don't be afraid to ask for help and take shortcuts. A lot of us always have people saying, oh, if you ever need anything, let me know. Now's the time to take people up on those offers. Ask people for help and take shortcuts. Maybe this isn't the year that you need to make the pie crust from scratch. You can use the frozen one. No one will know the difference. Maybe ordering some of your meal. It's not going to make a huge difference. It'll be different than normal holidays, but everything's different this holiday season. So just think about ways you can be a little bit easier on yourself. No one's expecting you to be a superhero this year. It's more important that everyone is together and safe and healthy and happy. So I hope that was helpful to everyone. Hope that was helpful. As always, feel free to contact us at the Department of Aging. I'm happy to troubleshoot any holiday issues with people. You can reach us calling the Aging Helpline at 919-968-2087 or online at orangecounty.nc.gov/aging. And I hope everyone enjoyed this video.